So if all three sides of a triangle have different lengths, and if they do, we can say that that is a scalene triangle. But if they don't, then since we have already checked that all of them are not equal, and also we have checked here that all of them are not different, we can say now that definitely two of these variables are equal, and that means that our user has entered isosceles triangle. And that is the program that we had here. Okay, so I hope you liked this video, and if you did, this is a strong call to subscribe to my channel and to share it with anyone else who would like to learn programming, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome to another video of C++ for beginners. In this video I wanted to talk about operators in C++, and we are going to cover the ones that are used most of the time. But I'm also going to make a separate video for certain operators that have specific use in C++. So in this video, we will talk about the ones that are used most of the time and that you really need to know and understand. And also make sure to watch the entire video because I do have some important tips to give you when it comes to this that you really need to understand and that you will find handy for your future progress in learning of programming. The first thing that I wanted to explain is what are operators. You can understand operators as special type of functions that are used to perform certain calculations on arguments or operands, and then based on those arguments and on that calculation, they give you a new value. So the first type of operators that I want to talk about are arithmetic operators. And you are probably familiar with most of these. So there is operator of adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and also one more operator that you may not be familiar with, which is the modulo operator. So all of these are arithmetic operators. And let me give you an example of how these are used. So I'm going to say cout, and then let's write out the result of 5 plus 2. Now let's add one end line. Okay, so this here is the operator of adding, and then these two are operands or arguments, and this here is going to perform certain calculation and then write that out to my console. So if I run my program, we get the expected result, which is 7. So these really behave as you would expect them to behave in maths. But there are certain rules that are specific to programming and that I want to mention. So this operator here, operator of dividing. Let me give you a simple example. If I say cout and then 5 divided by 2 and I add end line, what do you expect to see in this line here? Write that in the comments down below. Now I'm going to run my program, and you see that the result that I've gotten from this line here is 2. But why has that happened? We know that 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. Well, there is a certain rule in programming that says that the result of dividing two whole numbers like this, so 5 is whole number and then 2 is also whole number, is also going to be represented as whole number. So even though the result of dividing these two is 2.5, that 0.5 cannot really be put inside integer variable, so it cannot be put inside integer container. So just 2 can be put here. And that 0.2 is really lost. If you want to show the real result of dividing these two, what you have to do is you have to make one of these two or both of them of a different type. And that type is going to be decimal point number, so float or double. So if you put here 2.0 or you put here 5.0, then in this case, you are going to get the result represented as decimal point number. So you can use it like this, or you can make just one of these of a floating point type. So you can say also like this. And then if I run my program now, you see that now I have got the expected result, so 2.5. That is one rule that you really need to know when it comes to this division operator. And another tip that I want to show you is this operator of modulo. So how do we use this modulo operator? This example here that I've just shown you, let me return this to this situation where I've been dividing two whole numbers. And we've just seen that 5 divided by 2 is going to result as 2. And that 1 that remains, we can get that 1 really with this operator here. So if you say Cout, and then 5 modulo 2, add n line, this operator here is going to give you the remainder of dividing two whole numbers, which are these two. So the result of this operation is going to be that 1. So let me run my program. And you see that we have gotten that expected result. So 5 divided by 2 when it comes to whole numbers. If you're dividing whole numbers, the result is also going to be whole number. And in this situation, it's going to be 2. And then that remainder after dividing two whole numbers, you can get with this modulo operator. And the remainder after dividing 5 with 2 is 1. And you get it with this operator here. So these 5 are really arithmetic operators, and these are also called binary arithmetic operators. Why binary? Well, because they are all used with two operands. They perform their calculation on two operands. There is also another type of arithmetic operators in C++ that are used or that perform calculations on only one operand, and those are unary operators. The examples of unary operators in C++ are this operator here, which is operator of increment, and then this operator here, which is the operator of decrement. So how these are used? Let me give you an example. So let's create a variable of type int, and let's call it counter. And I'm going to assign to that variable a value of 7, for example. So how this operator of increment works is it really increases the value of your variable by 1. So if I say counter plus plus, what this operator is going to do, it's really going to add plus 1 to my counter variable. So 7 plus 1. It should, in this line here, increase value of my counter variable to 8. And let's prove that. Oops, Cout counter. And then let's add one end line. Okay, if I run my program, you see that we've got expected result. So 8. We've declared a variable of type int called counter. We've given it a value of 7. And then in the next line, we applied this increment operator to it, which had increased its value plus 1, so 8. And then after we write out that value of that variable, we got our result. So that is how this increment operator is used. This decrement operator, so counter minus minus, this decrement operator here works reverse. So it really subtracts 1 from this variable here. And if I copy this line here and then paste it, after this line here, our counter should be decreased by 1. So the value of our counter should really again be 7. And if I run my program, oops, like this, you see that we've gotten our 7. So we've gotten the expected result. However, there are specific rules when it comes to these increment and decrement operators. And let me explain what I mean on another example. So I'm going to create another variable of type int, call it counter2, and let's assign it also a value of 7. And what I want to do with this variable here is I want to write out its value, but I want to write out and increment its value in a single line. So I want to do this. So Cout counter2 plus plus. And I'm missing this redirection sign here. Okay, so what are you expecting to see in this line here? We've seen that this line here has resulted with 8, and this line here should also result in 8. Let's see. Okay, run my program. And it didn't. In this line here, we have written out 7, but why has that happened? Well, this operator here is increment operator, but it is really post increment operator. And what that means is that whatever operation needs to be performed on this variable is going to happen first, and then this increment operation is going to happen. So that is called post increment. Another type of increment is pre-increment, and it is used like this. Okay, and this pre-increment means that whatever operation needs to happen on this variable here, first I'm going to increment it, and then I'm going to perform that operation. So if I run my program now, you see that we now get our 8, same as here. And that is because we have used this pre-increment, which first has increased our variable, and then our variable is written out. Okay, and the same is applied for decrement operator. So for example, if I say cout counter to minus minus, and then, oh my God, again. Okay, and then if I run my program, you see that we have gotten the same value for this line and this line, so 8. And why that has happened is because we have used this post decrement here. So first our variable has been written out, and after that the value of that variable has been decreased. So just to prove that, I'm going to say one more time cout, and then counter 2 without any increment or decrement, just to prove that the value of this variable has been decremented after it has been written out. So if I run my program again, you see that this line here has resulted in 8, and then this line here has resulted in 7. Okay. So you see that our console now is full of some random numbers, and it's really making it hard to read. So what I want to do is I want to clear out my console, but without deleting this code here. So how I'm going to do that? I'm going to use a command that is called system, and then inside these parentheses I'm going to say cls, which really is going to clear my screen. So if I run my program, you'll see that all of our code is still here, but console has been cleared. So that's because of this command here. That's a quick tip if you need to clear your console. Another type of operators that I want to talk about are relational operators. And these are really used to compare the value of two operands, so two arguments. And relational operators in C++ are following. So we have less than, and then we have greater than, and then less than or equal to, and then greater than or equal to. Then we have just is equal to operator, and then we have not equal to. So these 6 are relational operators in C++. And how these are used, let me show you in an example. So let's say that I'm going to create a variable of type int, call it a, and let's assign it a value of 5, and also create another variable that is called b and assign it a value of 5. So now, if I say cout, and then inside these parentheses, I'm going to say, please write out if my variable a is greater than my variable b. So if my 5 is greater than this another 5. Okay, and I'm using these parentheses because I want my cout command to know that this here is one expression that first should be calculated, and then whatever this expression here results in, I'm going to write that out in my cout command. So if I run my program now, you see that we have gotten 0. And if you know about how computers work, you know that they work on zeros and ones, meaning that 0 represents false and then 1 represents true. So in this situation, we have gotten the result of false. So when I ask my computer, is my a greater than my b? So is 5 greater than 5? It says false. No, it is not. Okay. And the same is going to happen if I put here this other operator of less than, like this. But if I, for example, put less than or equal to, so this operator here, and I run my program again, you see that now we have gotten the result of 1. So that is true. That is what our computer considers as true. So our 5 is less than or equal to 5, which is correct. And even better would be if we say just is equal to, and in this situation also we are going to get true as a result, like this, because 5 is equal to 5. And then how we use this operator here is like this. So you can say, is my A not equal to my B? And your computer really hears, is my 5 not equal to my 5? And the response to that is going to be no. It is false because these two are equal. It's the same number even though it's held by two different variables. Okay, I hope you understood these relational operators. And there is also one tip that I want to give you here, and that is, you see this comma sign here. This is also operator in C++. And it is not relational operator, but it is binary operator. And how this operator is really used, because we have seen it before without knowing that it was an operator, it is used as follows. So in this line here, we have said, please create a variable of type int, call it a, and assign it value of 5. And then also, so that is the purpose of my comma, so also create another variable of type int, call it b, and assign it value of 5. So my comma in this situation is operator and separator as well. So it is pretty intuitive. So before we continue, let's add one more of these clear screen commands here. And the next type of operators that I want to talk about are logical operators. And there are 3 of those. So we have logical and then a logical or, and then also not operator. So these 3 are logical operators. And they are usually used to combine 2 or more conditions into one single condition. And I'm going to show you that on an example. And let's use for that example these variables here. Let's just change the value of our b to 8, for example. So what I want to do is I want to write out following. So is my a equal to 5? And then also is my b equal to 5? I want to write out the result of this expression here. And you see that we have used our AND operator to combine these two expressions. So if I run my program, you see that the result of this is false. So that is the nature of our AND operator. It really works like this. It says, please check, is my a equal to 5? Yes, it is. And then also check, is my b equal to 5? No, it is not. It is 8. So then this operator says, okay, whatever, then this whole expression is going to be false. Because this operator here needs both of its operands, so this here, and then this here also, both of these need to be true in order for this whole expression to result as true expression. That's the nature of this AND operator. However, there is one more forgiving operator in C++, and that is this operator here. So this OR operator. And if I paste that here instead of our AND operator, and I run my program again, you see that this time we got different result. Now we have true, and that is the nature of our OR operator. So it says, please check if this is true or this here is true. Whichever of these results as true, then I'm going to be true expression. Only in the situation where this here is false and also this here is false, I'm going to result as false. In any other situation, this here is going to be true. So that is the nature of OR operator. And then we have also this NOT operator, which really negates whatever comes after it. So if I put it here, for example, you see that you've seen that previously this expression here has resulted as true expression. Now that I negate it, we are going to get false. So that is our NOT operator here. Okay. And there is also one more thing that I want to explain when it comes to the precedence of these operators, which means priority of these operators. So which operator types have the biggest priority? The biggest priority have arithmetic operators. After that come these relational operators, and then the smallest priority have these logical operators. So let me show you that on an example. Let's just comment this very quickly and let's add another line, but the previous one that we had. So this here, like this. That is the operation that has resulted as false. So is my A equal to 5, and then is my B also equal to 5? And this has resulted as false. But if we, for example, say it like this, what do you think that this expression here is going to write out? So if I run it, you see that we have gotten 1. Why is that so? Well, as I've said, the biggest priority have arithmetic operators. So this expression here is going to be executed first. So 5 plus 3. After that, priority have these relational operators. So this operator here and this operator here. So after that comes logical operation. So this expression here is going to be really, is my A equal to 5? Yes, it is. And then also, is my B equal to 8? And the answer to that is also yes. So now both of these operands are true, and our AND operator is satisfied now, and it's going to result as true operation, this whole expression. So you need to remember that the biggest priority have arithmetic operators, so these here, binary and unary arithmetic operators. After that, we have our relational operators, and then the least priority have these logical operators here. Let's add one more of these clear screen commands before we talk about the last type of operators that I want to cover in this video, and those are operators of assignment. And there are 6 of those, and they are as follows. So operator that just assigns value, and then operator that adds and assigns, and then operator that subtracts and assigns, multiplies and assigns, divides and assigns, and modulates and assigns. So these 6 are operators of assignment. And let me show you how they work. So first I'm going to create a variable of type int, and let's call it x, and let's assign it a value of, for example, 5. Okay, so this here is example of this assignment operator here. And that is how it works. It assigns whatever is on the right to your variable on the left. So that is the direction of association. It really says whatever is on my right side, please assign that to my left side. And let me show you now how these here work, because they're a bit more complex. So if I say, for example, x plus equals 7, like this, what this expression here is going to do? Well, let me write out one more expression, and that is x equal to x plus 7. So this expression here and this expression here are just the same. This is just shorter way to write this here. And what this here does, well, this is expression that is not valid in mathematics, but in programming it is. And it does following. So it says, please, whatever is on my right side, assign that to my left side. And why it does that? Well, because this arithmetic operator here has priority over this assignment operator. So if you remember when we were talking about priority, these assignment operators have the lowest priority of all. So whatever is on my right side, that is x plus 7, is going to be assigned to my x variable. So 5 plus 7 is going to be equal to 12, and then that is going to be assigned to your x variable in this line here. And this expression here is really short way to write this here. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out, and if I write the value of my x now, we are expecting to see 12, and it is the result that we have gotten. So this x plus equals 7 is just going to do this, so this expression here. So it's going to add to my x this number here. And the same applies to these operators here. So this one that subtracts and then assigns or multiplies and assigns, divides and modulates. So if you say, for example, x minus equal to 7, then that is really going to result as x is equal to x minus 7. And then that right side is going to be assigned to your left variable, because arithmetic operators have priority over these operators of assignment. And if I run my program again, it really sees 5 minus 7, and that is minus 2. So I hope that you have understood these examples that I've just given you, and I'm also going to include some more examples at the end of this video, but tricky ones, so that you can be sure that you have really understood these operators in C++, because they are used very often and you have to understand them in order to continue with your progress on a programming path. So make sure to do those examples on your own, and if you come across any problems or you have any questions that are related to this video, write those in the comments down below and I'm going to answer them. I'm going to help you. And if you liked this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel and also click the bell icon so that you are first to be notified when I publish my next video. And I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, I wanted to answer a question that I recently got, and that is a question that is often asked on job interviews, and also students get it on their exams. And that is a question on how you can swap the value of two variables. I'm going to give you two ways to solve this problem, but let me just explain what I mean by this. So I'm going to copy the text of this problem here, like this. And let me say that I have one variable, which is going to be called a, and that variable is going to hold value of 20, let's say. And then I have another variable, which is going to be called b, and that variable holds value of 10. And now I need to switch the value, so to swap the value of these two variables. I want my a to hold whatever my b is holding, and then I want my b to hold whatever my a is holding. So how we are going to do that? For the first explanation, I will need something, so let me get it. So here I have two glasses, and inside this left glass I have my green juice, and then inside this glass I have just plain water. And the question that we have in our Visual Studio is equivalent to a question how we can swap the content of these two glasses. And to solve that problem, I'm going to use another glass, so a temporary glass, and that is this one here. And I'm sorry guys, I know this is not a glass, it's a shaker, but it will do for this explanation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this glass, this variable, and I'm going to put its content inside this third glass, this temporary glass. Okay, and then when I have saved the value of this glass inside this temporary glass, what I can do is I can put my green juice, so the content of this glass, inside here. Okay, this is a bit more complex in real life than in programming. So once you do that, you have saved the value of this glass here, so the content of this glass here inside this glass. And now what we are left to do is just to put whatever our temp variable, our temp glass was holding inside this glass here. And now we have successfully accomplished to solve this problem. So we have switched the content of these two glasses. And let's just translate this into our code. Now that I have explained the algorithm to solve this problem, we are just going to translate that algorithm into C++ code. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable, a temporary variable, which I'm going to call temp, and inside that temp variable I'm going to put whatever my a is holding. So I'm going to say that my temp holds now whatever is inside my a variable. And since we have our a variable free now to hold something else, I'm going to put my b value inside my a. So now my a is going to hold whatever my b is holding. And now that we have saved the value of our b inside our a variable, we can put inside our b whatever our temp variable is holding. So that is the value that previously was inside our a variable. And this here is really the algorithm to solve this problem using a third variable. And let's just quickly add a cout so that we can see what we have done. So our a is equal to A, and then our B is equal to our B. And let's add end line like this. And I'm going to add just a comma sign here. Okay, and if I run the program, you see now that here we have A is equal to 20 and B is equal to 10, and now we have successfully swapped the value of these two variables. So now my A is holding 10, and then my B is holding 20, which previously was inside my A variable. And this is a solution for our problem using a third variable. But this question is often asked in another way, and that is how you can swap the value of two variables without using a third variable. And now I'm going to explain that. So let me very quickly delete this until here. Okay. And in order to solve this problem without using third variable, you will have to think in a more mathematical way. And the solution for this is going to be the following. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, let's say that my A variable is going to hold whatever my A is holding, and I'm going to add whatever my B is holding also. And this expression here would be really incorrect in any mathematics, but in programming this is a valid expression. And it means this here, whatever this expression results in, I'm going to assign that to my A variable. And this here is whatever my A is holding plus whatever my B is holding. Assign that to A. So that is going to be A, so 20, plus B, 10. That is equal to 30. So now in this line here, my A is going to hold the value of 30. And then in the next line, let's say now my B is going to hold whatever my A is holding, and then subtract whatever my B is holding from that. So in this line here, I'm going to say store inside my B the result of this expression here. And this expression will result in following. A, so 30, minus B, minus 10. That is going to be 30 minus 10, 20. So in this line here, my B is going to hold the value of 20. And then what we are left to do is just to put the correct value inside our A, and that is going to be A equal to A minus B. This means whatever my A is holding at this very moment, and that is 30, minus whatever my B is holding at this very moment, and that is 20. And guys, 30 minus 20 is going to result in 10, and our A is going to get the value of 10 in this line here. So now if I write out, C out, A is equal to A, and let's add end line, and then C out, B is equal to B. And if I run my program, you see that I'm going to get the expected result. So my A now is holding whatever my B was holding, so 10, and then my B is holding this value that previously was inside our A variable here. So we have solved this problem in two ways, so with or without a third variable. So if you found this video helpful, make sure to like it and to subscribe to my channel. And also any questions that you have, leave those in the comments down below, and share this video with anyone who'd like to learn programming. And I'm going to see you in my next video. And also, guys, one question for you. If you have any recipes, any algorithms on how you can make green juice taste and smell good, please make sure to write those in the comments down below. Bye. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video of C++ for beginners. I just got an idea of a simple and fun program that I can show you how you can build. And since I'm a bit of a fitness enthusiast myself, if you haven't noticed, I wanted to show you how you can build your own body mass index calculator. So stay tuned, make sure to subscribe, and let's build our own BMI calculator. Okay, so here's the text of my task, and what we are going to build is BMI calculator. So first I want to explain what is BMI calculator. It is body mass index calculator that is going to tell you whether you are underweight or normal weight or you are overweight, depending on your weight and your height. And here I'm going to use weight in kilograms and then height in meters. So if someone else wants to adjust this program so that it can work with pounds, feet, and inches, you can write out that code in the comments down below, and the first one that gets it right, I'm going to pin that comment so that everyone else can use it and see it. Okay, so we are going to use this formula here, which is used to calculating your BMI in metric system. So another thing that I want to mention is these three categories here. There are also some more categories that you can really calculate whether you are extremely underweight or you are extremely overweight, but these three should be enough for us to do now, and these three I'm going to cover in this code. Another disclaimer that I want to make is that this BMI calculator probably should not be used by people that have huge amounts of muscle, so professional bodybuilders, because even though they have muscle, that muscle is still weight. So even though they are not overweight, they will fall in a category of overweight because their BMI is going to be higher. But for most of us that don't have a lot of muscle or are leading normal lives, training a couple of times a week maybe, this is going to be completely okay. So let's build our program now. So here is our tool that we are going to use to draw this diagram, so Lucid Chart, and let's really develop the algorithm for solving this problem, and then we are going to translate that diagram, that algorithm, into C++ code. So as you may already know, first thing that I'm going to put here is this shape here that is going to indicate the start position of my program, this circle shape here. And after that, we really need two things from our user, so two things that he should enter, and those are his height and his weight. So let's use this funnel shape here that is going to indicate something entering in your program, so visual representation. That's why I'm using that funnel shape. And inside here, I'm going to put two things that my user needs to enter. And those two things are these two things here. So his weight, and he should enter his weight in kilograms, and also his height, and let's say that he should enter his height in meters. So I'm going to use metric system for this problem. Okay, and let's indicate the flow of our program. It should flow like this. And after our user has entered his weight and his height, there is a simple calculation that our program needs to perform. And that calculation is going to be a process for our program. So the shape that I'm going to use for that is this shape here. So this shape that says process on it. And what our program should process, what our program should calculate, is it should calculate BMI. So I'm going to put here BMI is equal to, and then I'm going to put this formula here that is used to calculate BMI. Okay, so it's weight represented in kilograms divided by height to the power of 2. So I'm going to multiply my height with height. Okay, and this is really the calculation of our BMI. And now, after our program has calculated this BMI, what we are left to do is we should, depending on this BMI, really write out to our user whether he's underweight or overweight or of a normal weight. So we should make a decision depending on this BMI. And for that decision, we are using this decision shape, so this diamond shape. And inside this diamond shape, I'm going to put a condition. And that condition is going to be, let's first check whether my BMI is lower than 18.5, like this. And in this situation where our user's BMI is lower than 18.5, so when this condition here results as yes, I'm going to write out something to my user. And let me find a shape. Okay, let's rotate this shape and delete is text. Okay, and what I want to write out to my user, how I can make this smaller. What I want to write out to my user in the situation where his BMI is lower than 18.5 is I want to write out that he is really underweight. So let's put text inside here and let's write out that he is underweight. So that is going to happen in this situation. Oh my God. that is going to happen in this situation here. Let me just, okay, now it's okay. So in this situation where his BMI is lower than 18.5, we are going to write out that he is underweight. But in the situation where his BMI is not lower than 18.5, we have to check something else. And let's check. So let's add another of these diamond shapes. Where is it? Here. Okay, and let's now check whether his BMI is higher than 25. So I'm going to write out BMI greater than 25. Okay, and that is going to happen in the case that this here results as no. And in the situation where user's BMI is higher than 25, that really means that our user is overweight. So we are going to write out, okay, so we are really going to write out a message to our user. So let's copy this shape here, which we are using to write out a message to our user. So this reversed funnel shape that represents something leaving your program, something being outputted from your program. So in the case where this calculation here results as true, we are going to write out to our user that he is overweight. Like this. Okay, and let's really adjust this. Now it looks a bit more presentable. Okay, so first we have checked whether his BMI is lower than 18.5. If yes, we have written out underweight. If no, we have to check whether his BMI is greater than 25, and if it is, it means that he is overweight. But in the situation where this here results as a no, that means that our user's BMI is not lower than 18.5, nor it is greater than 25. So that means that his BMI is really somewhere in between, so between 18.5 and 25, and that is a normal BMI. So that is our last possible situation where we are going to write out to our user that he has a normal weight. So let's write out normal weight. Okay. So after we have covered these three cases, let's just join our flows into one. So I'm looking for this shape here, and I'm going to make it smaller, delete this text from it, and I'm really just going to join these flows inside this shape here. Let's just try to move this here. I'm going to delete it, and let's say that I'm going to, oh no. Okay guys, I had huge problems trying to adjust some arrows, so I had to rewrite this whole diagram, and I believe that I made it a bit prettier. So here we were explaining that in the case that our user has BMI lower than 18.5, we are going to write out this message to him. In the case that his BMI is not lower than 18.5, we are going to check whether it is greater than 25, and if yes, we are going to write out that he's overweight. If no, we are going to write out that he's of normal weight. And in each of these three cases, we are coming here to this diamond shape here, which is just going to join these three potential situations. And after this diamond shape here, we are going to write out to our user what his BMI really is, because I really want my user to know if he's, for example, in this situation here or in this situation here, I want him to know whether his BMI is, let's say, 18.4, so he's not that extremely underweight, but he's just a little bit underweight. Or in this situation here, I want him to know whether his BMI is 25.5, so he's just a little bit overweight, or his BMI is really 35, let's say. That's why I want to write out my BMI to my user, his BMI to my user, okay? So and then we just really stop our program. So now I'm going to copy this diagram and put it next to my Visual Studio so that we can really translate this diagram here into our code. So here I have put this diagram and then also my Visual Studio, and let's now translate this diagram. Let's translate this algorithm into code, because this here really is an algorithm explanation on how to solve a certain problem. So the first thing that needs to happen is our user should enter his weight and his height. And for that to happen, I first need to declare variables for weight and height. And for that, I'm going to use type float, because his weight and height can be decimal point number. So I'm going to say float, and then I'm going to say weight and height. Okay, like this. And after that, let's put a message out to our user so that he knows that he should enter his weight and height. So I'm going to say cout weight, and let's put that he should enter his weight in kilograms, and then also height, but he should enter his height in meters, like this, so that he knows which system he should use. Okay, after we have written out this message here, what I need to do is I need to use my cin command so that I can allow my user to enter weight and height. And I'm going to say, first thing that my user enters, that's going to be stored inside my weight variable. And then after that, the second value that my user enters is going to be my height. So store that in a height variable, like this. Okay, and after we have entered weight and height, next thing that needs to happen is we need to do this formula here and really calculate our BMI. And in order to store this result, the result of this expression in our BMI, we need a variable for that, and that variable is obviously going to be called BMI. So let's add here, in this line here, let's add BMI. So I'm going to declare another variable, and that variable I'm going to use now, and I'm going to say that my BMI is going to be used as follows. So I'm going to use this formula here, which is our weight divided by our height to the power of 2. For now, I'm going to use it like this. Okay, and in this line here, we have really calculated our BMI, so this code here. And now, after we have calculated our BMI, what we should do is we should really check what is the value of that BMI. And for that, we are using this shape here, which really translates into if-else case. So first I'm going to say if, and then the first thing that I want to check is if my user's BMI is lower than 18.5, like this. And in this situation where his BMI is lower than 18.5, I'm going to execute one line of code, so that's why I don't need to put these brackets. So I'm going to delete them because I just want to execute one line of code, and that line of code is going to be indented here so that it is easier to read. And that line of code is really going to be a message that I want to write out to my user, and that message is going to be that my user is underweight, unfortunately. Okay, and let's add one end line like this. Okay, this is in the situation where his BMI is lower than 18.5. In a situation where his BMI is not lower than 18.5, we are going to execute something else. So that something else we represent with else statement. And I'm going to put that else statement. And what is happening in that else case? It is happening another if else. So here we have a situation where we need to check something else. So here I'm going to put else if. So if this here results as no, please then check something else. And for that we use this else if statement. So I'm going to say else if, please check if my BMI is greater than 25 then. So in this situation we also want to execute one line of code, and that line of code is going to be to write out to my user that his BMI is greater than 25, which means that he is overweight. So let me copy this message here, and we are just going to adjust it. So I'm just going to say you are overweight, like this. Okay, so If his BMI is less than 18.5, I'm going to write out that he's underweight. Else, if his BMI is not lower than 18.5, I'm going to check whether his BMI is greater than 25. If yes, I'm going to write out that he's overweight. If no, we are also going to execute something else. And that is this situation here. So in this case, he has a normal weight. So let me again copy this message here. And let's really put here a normal weight like this. Okay. So in this situation where his BMI is not lower than 18.5, nor it's greater than 25, we are going to write out to our user that he has a normal weight. And with this here, with this code here, we have really covered this part of diagram here. Okay. And then after this code here executes, we really want to write out our BMI to the user. So we have to translate this shape here, which really translates into our cout command. And we want to write out your BMI is, and then let's write out BMI like this. Okay, and this line of code, as you may already see from our diagram, is going to execute in either this case or this case or this case. Because after we have finished with this decision part, we have executed only this part of code or this part of code or this part of code here. So whichever of these three has been executed, after this code here, we are going to execute this line here in either this situation or this situation or this situation. And that is going to be writing out to my user what his BMI really is. And that is the last thing that we need to put. So the last part of our code. And now if I run my program, okay, it asks me to enter my weight and my height. And my weight is, I believe, 66 kilograms, I think. And then my height is 1.75. So let's press enter. Oh no, I'm overweight. How my BMI is 66? Okay guys, for a moment I thought that I am overweight, but I am not definitely this 66 BMI overweight. So that means that we have a bug. So where are you, sneaky little buggy bug? Well, if you can see where our bug is, then write that in the comments down below. And I already see where potentially our bug could be. So this formula here, it should really go like this. So we should divide our weight with our height to the power of 2, which means that we should put parentheses here, like this. And that is this calculation here. So in this situation, our weight is going to be divided with our height, and after that, that number is going to be multiplied with our height. So we are going to get larger BMI than we should really. So we should put this code here in parentheses. So that was the first bug that really happened in these tutorials. Okay, I'm going to leave this part. I'm not going to edit it out. Okay, and now if I enter my weight, let's see, 66, and then my height 1.75. Okay, so I am 21.5. That is my BMI, and I am of a normal weight. So we have really built our BMI calculator, and this is the formula that you should use for a metric system. And if someone else wants to rewrite this program for pounds and inches and feet, you can write that in the comments down below. And as I said, I'm going to pin that comment up so that everyone can see it, if you of course get it right. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to write it in the comments down below, and I'm going to put more videos like this. And also subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon so that you are first to be notified when I publish a new video. Share this video with anyone who would like to learn programming, or also with fitness people that would just like to use this program. And if you don't know how you can run this program without using Visual Studio, I'm going to link my first video here. And at the end of that video, I'm explaining how you can run the program from Windows, and that should give you an idea on how you can really share your applications with other people. So make sure to subscribe, like, leave a comment, share, whatever you want, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video of C++ for beginners. In this video, I wanted to explain the concept of ternary operator, also known as conditional operator, and also some people call it shorter version of if-else statement. It is an important concept that you are definitely going to come across in your programming career, and you should understand it. And I'm going to explain this concept through building fun and simple program that is going to be a guessing game. So let's explain the rules of this game. We need to have two users, and our first user, which I'm going to call host user, has to enter a number. After that, we have to delete that number from our console so that our second user cannot see it. And then after that, our second user, which I'm going to call guest user, has to enter his guess so that he can guess what number our first user has entered. So this way we can really make a fun program and learn an important concept at the same time. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you an idea or multiple ideas how you can really upgrade this program on your own. So make sure to watch the entire video. Now that we have explained the rules of this game, let's start building our program. And the first thing that we need to do is create two variables. Since we said that our user is going to be guessing numbers, those two variables are going to be definitely a number type. And let's say that that type is going to be integer, so integer numbers. And we need two variables. The first one is going to hold our first user number, so our host user number, and then our second variable is going to hold the number that our guest user enters. So let's call those two host user number, like this, and then the second one let's call guest user number, like this. Okay, and now after we have created these two variables, the next thing that we need to do is let's write out a message to our host user so that he knows that he should enter a number. So let's say cout, and let's just say host, like this, so that our host user really knows that he should enter a number. And I'm going to accept that number in my console using the cin command, and I'm going to store that number inside our host user number variable. So with this line here, we have entered our host user number. And what we have said at the beginning of this video is that after our host user enters the number, we really need to delete that number from our console so that our second user is not able to see it. And the command that I'm going to use for that is going to be this command here. So I'm going to say system, and then I'm going to say cls, which is really going to clear our console, so clear our screen. And now if I run my program, let's see how far we have made this program. Here we have this line, this seventh line, which says host user, and it expects our host user to enter a number. So I'm going to say, for example, 7. And then after I press enter, this number here really is deleted. So our console has been cleared. And now after this, we need to ask our guest user to guess the number that our host user has entered. So I'm going to stop the program, and next we need to write out a message to our guest user. So I'm going to say guest, like this. And after that, we need to accept what our guest user enters inside our guest user variable. So I'm going to copy this line here, like this, and instead of accepting that value inside host user number, I'm just going to change this to guest user number. And after this part here, we really have both accepted our host user number and our guest user number, and now we need to compare these two and see whether our guest user has guessed correctly our host user's number. So how we can do that, if you are familiar with if-else statements, and I'm going to link that video here, and if you are familiar with them, that is really one way to solve this problem. So you can solve this problem with if-else statements, and I'm going to do that, and then we are going to really convert that if-else statement into a ternary operator. So how we can solve this with if-else statements? Well, it is quite simple solution. So we have to say if, and then inside these parentheses, I'm going to really compare these two numbers. So host user number and guest user number. So I'm going to say host user number is equal to guest user number, like this. And then if this here results as true, so if these two numbers are the same, we can write out a message to our user, and that message is going to be, let's say, correct, like this. So our user has guessed correctly. But in a situation where this here results as false, we can use our else statement. And in this else situation, let's write out a different message to our user. So let's say cout, and then inside these quotation marks, let's say failed, like this. So that in the case where these two are the same number, we can write out to our user that he has guessed correctly, and then in a situation where these two are not the same, we can write out to our user that he has failed in guessing. So if I run my program now, you see that it expects our host user to enter a number, and I'm going in this situation to take the role of both host and guest user. So I'm going to enter 7, for example, and then you see that that 7 number has been deleted from our console because of this command here. And now our program expects our guest user to enter his number, and I even forgot what number I entered. So let's say that our host user has entered, for example, 11. And you see that our program says you have failed, so you haven't guessed correctly. And one more time, let's enter for our host user number 5, for example, and then let's say that our guest user also says number 5, and our program says you have guessed correctly. So this is one potential solution for this problem, but I wanted to show you how you can solve this problem using ternary operator. And now I'm going to comment this code here, like this. So this is a comment for multiple lines of code. And let's really translate this part of code here into a ternary operator, like this. Okay, so how does the ternary operator work? Well, it is the only operator that takes 3 operands or works on 3 operands, and the first operand is going to be a condition. So I'm going to copy this condition here, which is our host user number equal to our guest user number? So that is going to be the first operand. And after that first operand, we need to put this question mark. And then after this question mark, we have the following behavior. If this expression here, so if this condition here is true, we are going to execute one line of code, or actually one part of code, and that is going to be this line here. But in the situation where this here results as false, we are going to execute whatever we put after this column sign. So that is going to be our cout failed, like this. And this is really the syntax for our ternary operator. And as you can see, it really is a shorter form of if-else statement. So this line of code really means, please check this condition here, and if this condition here results as true, execute this part of code here, but if this code here results as false, please execute whatever I put after my column sign. So that is going to be our cout failed. And now if I run the program, it asks again for our host user to enter the number. Let's enter number 9, for example. And then our guest user has to guess the number. So let's enter, for example, number 3. And you can see that our program says to our guest user that he has failed in guessing. So there are a couple of ways in which you can really upgrade this program, and I'm going to give you a few ideas. And the first one is, for example, you don't have to use int type here. So you can use different data type. You can guess characters, or you can guess even strings if you know how to. And if some of you want to play with that and try that on their own and you get it right, make sure to paste that code in the comments down below and I'm going to check it. And if you get it right, I'm going to pin that comment up so that everyone else can see it. So that would be one way of upgrading this program. Another way to upgrade this program is to make it easier to your guest user. And how do I mean easier? Well,